Today we can discuss about the research methodology. In previous classes, we have discussed about the basic ideas about the type of research and other aspects of the research. Today we can discuss about the research methodology. And as a research methodology, this refers to the overarching strategy. So that means the strategy we normally apply, right? Uh, this refers to the strategy and philosophical frameworks that guides the entire research process. Because when they like to do the research, and then there may be some guidelines, and then there may be some strategies. So then researchers simply they follow these guidelines and the philosophical frameworks. So because there are different research and their research approaches are different, and that's why they can use the different approaches. It includes the theoretical underpinning, the logic of research design, and the overall plan conducting the study. It includes the theoretical underpinning in the sense when the researchers they try to do the research. Uh, the theoretical underpinning all about uh, say for example when they try to do some research related to the customer satisfaction, service quality, and what are the theories available related to the satisfaction, what are the theories available related to the service quality. That means that the previous researchers have conducted extensive studies about this service and service quality, and they have created some theories. And now the researchers can use that theories as a foundation for their work. So that's why this is normally referred as theoretical underpinning. So that means when they try to initiate the theories based on some, uh, they try to initiate some research based on some theories and the logic of the research design. Because when they are, we will discuss later about the research design, and there are some logics and behind this research, right? So the design and the overall plan for conducting a study. So the overall plan means um, uh, problem identification and using some theories and previous researchers, that means the literature reviews and the methodology parts, the data collection instruments and analysis and interpretation. So then there may be some plan, and researchers will then they are to follow the plan to conduct the studies. So research methodology encompasses various elements such as research paradigm, epistemology, ontology, and overall approach to inquiry. So then the research methodology part, right, consists various elements, right? So then we will discuss that elements detailedly, then we will have idea about the elements normally included in the research methodology. So then research methodology encompasses various elements such as the research paradigms, epistemology, ontology, and the overall approach to inquiry. So then research methods simply this is a more specific and practical aspects of research. The research methods is a kind of an approach, right? So the specific practical aspects of research, it involves techniques, procedures, and tools. So then normally research methods includes techniques, procedures, and tools employed to collect and analyze the data, right? So, uh, so that's why sometimes people confuse. So the research methodology includes all aspects about theories and research design and plan, everything included in the research methodology. Methods uh, explain the specific critical aspect of the research. It involves the techniques, uh, what are the techniques they can use, what are the procedures they can use, and tools employed to collect and analyze the data. So the research methods can be qualitative or quantitative in that they are the specific steps researchers take to answer their research questions or test hypothesis. So that's why research methods can be a qualitative or quantitative, and yeah, they are the specific steps researchers take to answer their research question or to test hypothesis. Already we have discussed about when they try to initiate a research, the research normally starts or begins with a problem they identify. So with the research problem. So then the research problem means they have identified some problem, and that based on the problem only they can initiate the research to find the answers to the problem. So that's why it may be a qualitative studies. Sometimes if they want to explore some issues or factors, then they can go for qualitative study or quantitative studies for try to find the cause and effect relationship or some other descriptive aspects if they want to get, then they can go for quantitative studies. So then they are the specific steps, right? It depends on the research, and it depends on the problem, and based on the problem they may have some hypothesis to be answered, right? So then they can create some research hypothesis to be answered, so then they can use that hypothesis as well. So then now we can discuss about approach to marketing and social science research. So already we discussed about the business and social science researchers, and now you have some idea about what is it. So marketing research are simply in the context of marketing, right? So that means all about marketing activities. So what are the issues and problems they are encountering in the marketing, and then they can use that to try to find the answers. So in the context of marketing, research is conducted to understand the market trends. Uh, Market trends, we all know that, right? Uh, mm, what is happening in the market? What are the products normally moving in the market? What are the competitors' activities? What are the expectations of the consumers and their purchasing trends? Everything include the purchasing trends. So they want to understand about this market trends. So then they can do some market research, right? Uh, and consumer behavior, that also part of the research to understand what consumers are really doing in the market. Consumer behavior, already we have discussed about how consumers select, identify the needs, getting the information, and involved in purchase and consumption, usage and disposal, everything. But normally consumers are doing. So you all are consumers. So normally uh, you also involved and, in the purchasing process, right? When you are involving in the purchasing process, sometimes if you are going to purchase a mobile phone, normally, how do you do that? So immediately you go and purchase? No, you don't purchase immediately because, first of all, you have to recognize you have a need to purchase a mobile phone. If you identify your needs, so then you go to search the information. So what are the mobile phones available in the market? What are the prices, warranty, models? Yeah, you can purchase all these sort of information you gather. And after that, you evaluate the products and purchase and use it. So then there are also a lot of steps you are involved in. So then normally marketers try to understand these things, right? So then uh, try to understand what consumers are doing. So there's a consumer behavior. So examples we can discuss about a company launching a new snack product, right? Snack like a beverages, so the soft drinks or whatever it is. A company plan to launch a new snack product, might conduct a focus group. Uh, so the focus group means select some people who may have interest to purchase the snacks. where small groups of potential consumers and discuss their preferences and opinions about different flavors they are preferring, packaging designs and sizes, whether it's a plastic package or so some paper packages or right. So because due to the environmental concern nowadays, consumers prefer to purchase the environmental friendly packages than this polythene or plastic. And price points also, what are the prices normally expecting, right? So then they can conduct some research to understand the consumers in the market, and they can conduct some in-depth interviews also. They can conduct in-depth interviews in the sense they select one person and try to discuss about them. What do you think about these beverages? What are the products you prefer available in the market? And what are the changes you are expecting? Like that, they can conduct some interviews to understand the consumers' preferences about that snack market. So then they can take a decision. It's like that they can conduct mm, quantitative research also. That means they can send, design the questionnaire and issue to the respondents via the online forms, and then they can get the feedbacks, the responses, and they can analyze it and they can get it. And like a marketing research, social sciences also, uh, the research aims to understand the human behavior and social phenomena, or then social phenomenon means of the social aspects. Then this research aims that means various disciplines such as sociology, psychology, economics. Often they are using these social science researchers, and so then they also can use the qualitative and quantitative or mixed methods. They can use that. And then here the qualitative methods, then they try to understand the the people spending pattern, economic condition, uh, their preferences or something else we can get, right? So then it's the same thing. They can do them research about quantitative quality aspects of what people are expecting in the social context, what are their future, right, preferences. Now you see, because why the social science research is important, especially in the marketing context, because in the marketers also deal with the social aspects, so then they should understand the social aspect of what about people and their spending pattern, income, education, and their preferences, cultural aspects. And that's why they are doing these researches to understand this in the society, and then justifying the scientific method. So scientific method is a systematic approach to empirical inquiry. Empirical means so then they try to uh, uh, prove with some evidence. So that's why the empirical search. Sorry. So yeah, that the justification means when they are giving the reasons why they are using these methods, right? So the scientific method is essential in marketing research because it provides a structured approach to understanding and predicting consumer behavior. So market trends and the effectiveness of marketing strategies. So then they try to have it. So then the scientific research methods normally have some the characteristic objective. They have objectivity and applicability. When they are doing some research, scientific research, they can do some scientific research in one context, and then they can replicate that research in another context. That's why replicability and the falsifiability means sometimes when they try to do the research, there may be right and wrong. That's why the research, when they are involved in the scientific research, the research results may be right or may be wrong. Right? So that's why sometimes once they prove it is right, so another researchers can prove it may be wrong. So that's why there may be a chance that with the evidence they can prove that, right? So then again and again they can do that. Uh, these are the aspects is important when we do dealing with this scientific method. So scientific method is a systematic approach to empirical inquiry involving the formulation of hypotheses, right? Formulation of hypotheses, systematic observation, experimentation, and formulation and testing of theories. So that's why when researchers doing the scientific research, uh, there may be uh, possibility, as you said, to prove. Sometimes one researchers can prove it may be right. Sometimes another researchers can prove it may be wrong. So that's why it's a falsifiability aspect of the research, of the scientific research. Scientific research, especially the empirical inquiry. Empirical means evidence-based. Evidence-based, where they based to collect the data, and based on the data, they can uh, conclude, so to say, empirical inquiry and involving formulation and hypothesis. Already we have discussed about hypothesis. It's a kind of a statement of the relationship between the variables, right? So the association between the variables, we can assume there may be some association, then they can formulate the hypothesis. That means they can create the statements that there may be some possibilities of the relationship. And a systematic observations. So then systematic observations in the sense that logically, scientifically, they can observe, and with some the steps and procedures they are following. That means we can say it's a systematic observation. And then experimentation, already we discussed about, they can sometimes apply some uh, activities or strategies to certain groups, and then they try to uh, get the results of that experiment, right? Then they can do some experimentation and formulation and testing of theories. Theories based on the scientific research only they can create the theories, because there are, when there's a theory, that means the theory is created based on the scientific, right, aspects of the research, right? So justifying the scientific methods involves highlighting its characteristics, right? Scientific research normally involves highlights its, as I said, the characteristics and objectivity. There may be objective and replicability. Once we do the research, we can apply that research in another context as well. Falsifiability. So that means once the research concludes something, another research, there may be a possibility to falsify. Falsify means already they prove it is wrong, and another researchers can prove it may be wrong. That's a possibility. Falsifiability and the iterative nature of hypothesis. This iterative nature means repeatedly they can do something to prove, while again and again. So there's a kind of a iterative process, a repeating process. The scientific method is justified because it provides uh, a rigorous and systematic way, a rigorous and systematic ways to acquire knowledge, minimizing bias and subjectivity. So then there's normally research what they normally do. They like to do this to the research without any bias, right? Uh, Say for example, uh, if one company like to plan implement a new advertising uh, campaign, so then the hypothesis they can create a new advertising campaigns will increase the product sales by 20%. So then there's a relationship between advertising campaign and the sales. So there are two variables. One is advertising, another one is a sales. So then hypothesis says a new advertising campaign will increase product sales by 20%. Now you can understand there's a relationship between this advertising campaign and product sales, right? By 20%. This is a kind of a association. So then they assume that's why they formulate a hypothesis, right? The researchers formulate the hypothesis. Now you can understand a new advertising campaign will increase product sales by 20%. This is the assumption. Another term we can say this is the assumption. Researchers assume a new advertising campaign will increase the product sales by 20%. Right? So another term we can say this is the um, relationship between the variable advertising and sales, or association between the advertising and sales. Like that, there may be some uh, association, then they formulate this kind of a hypothesis. And then systematic observation, how they can do that, conduct a pre-test and post-test to measure the sales. Pre-test in the sense they can select some certain audience groups, and before advertising, they try to observe their purchasing or the sales of the particular company sales or consumers purchase, right? So they are before the advertising, they observe the sales, right? And then they do the uh, uh, advertising campaign, right? After the campaign, right? That means post test. After the campaign, you can say it's a post. After the campaign, they can do the post test. We measure sales before and after launching the company. Right? So then you see there are two conditions. One is pre-test means before the campaign they observe systematically observe the sales, and they do the campaign, and after the campaign they systematically observe the sales. Then now they can understand if definitely sales increase, then they know due to the advertising the sales is increasing. So then the data collection for this use of objectives uh, sales data from various regions, right? Use objective sales data from various regions. They can collect it, analyze, compare the sales data to see if there's any significant increase, right? So then replicability also we can discuss about, say for example, product packaging impact study. They can do some product packaging impact study. So then here also they can do some hypothesis. Changing the product package will lead to higher consumer purchase intent. Right. So then here also then there's a statement changing the product packaging, changing. So then they write to tell changing the product packaging. So already package is there. Now they plan to change the package, and they assume the changing the product packaging will lead to higher consumer purchase intent. That means when they try to change the package, they expect product purchase of consumers. Consumers try to purchase more product, right? They may have an intention to purchase more due to the package. So that's why this is the statement between the variables. There was an experiment. Conduct the study with the sample group, showing half the original packaging and the other half the new package, right? So they select certain group of people. They can divide into two, right, randomly. So that one group they show the product with the original package, and they try to get their opinion whether we purchase this thing, and they can get the data. And to the another group, again, uh, mm, they can introduce with a new package to that group and try to ask them about their purchase intention. And right, so then they can use this, right? So then data collection, measure the purchase intent through the surveys in this context. So now you can understand this way. Uh, they can replicate that, right, to the different groups of people. They can do that, right? Today they can do this, tomorrow they can do this. So then this is the other researchers also they can duplicate this, right? So that the study can be replicated by other researchers or marketers using the same method and different samples, right? Uh, so this is the way the scientific research could be uh, replicated. And uh, falsifiability. So that also we can discuss some example. Social media engagement, right? Social media engagement. So then they can create the hypothesis. Increasing the frequency of social media posts will improve customer engagement. So then there are two variables. One is the social media, right? Uh, Frequent use of social media, one variable, and the customer engagement, another variable. So then here, increasing the frequency of social media post. So that's a one variable will improve customer engagement, will improve the customer engagement. Now you can understand if there is any few social media posts, sometimes uh, customer engagement will be very less. But if there is any more social media posts, customers try to get more information, then they are attracted toward the content and then their engagement may be high. So then this is the statement, the hypothesis, right? So then experiment. So then what they can do, increase the post frequency for the month and measure the engagement metrics. So then how they can measure that engagement by uh, right, getting the data from the likes, shares, and comments and observation, what they can do, but what can compare the engagement metrics before and after the change. Right, so then here how they can falsify this one. If engagement metrics don't improve or decline, so the hypothesis is falsified because the hypothesis they assume uh, increasing the frequency of social media posts will increase the customer engagement. That is their expectation. That is their hypothesis, right? But that hypothesis may be wrong because when they are doing the research, they frequently increasing the social media posts, but ultimately there is no any increase in the customer engagement. There's no any uh, sign of customer engagement. Then the hypothesis can be falsified. Falsified means the hypothesis may be wrong, right? So that's why when we are doing a scientific research, sometimes so the falsifiability of the research. This demonstrates the importance of falsifiability as it allows marketers to discard ineffective strategies and refine the approaches. So then marketers sometimes uh, use another strategies instead of increasing the social media posts because that their assumption or the hypothesis may be false, right? Another one, as we discussed, the iterative nature of the hypothesis testing. So iterative nature of the hypothesis testing here, price sensitivity analysis, right? Price sensitivity analysis. So the initial, mm, we can do some example. So initial hypothesis, lower the price of a product by 10% will increase the sales by 15%. That means then they have an association uh, between the price and sales. They expect when they reduce the price by 10%, they expect the sales to increase by 15%. This is the association, this is the assumption, that is the hypothesis they have. Right? Then they experiment, implement a price change and measure the sales value. And they are observing, analyze the results to see if sales increased as predicted. They are observing, right? So then the repeatedly what they can do, iterative process, sometimes uh, they want to experiment by change the price. Already they reduced to 10%. Again, they can revise the hypothesis, like if sales increase by 5%, provides the hypothesis to just a 15% price reduction, right? 15%. Again, they write to do. Earlier, they reduced the price by 10%. They expected 15%. So another hypothesis also they can, after doing the research, they can do another hypothesis. Another hypothesis what they can do, they can write to reduce the price by 15%. They can reduce the price by 15%. And then they write to expect is there any significant increase in the sales, like that. Repeatedly, they can do that, right? So that's why iterative process means repeatedly they are doing again and again by changing something. So they're changing here, they are changing hypothesis. So then we implement a new price change and measure the results again, then to get the optimum sales, right, based on the price. Sometimes when they reduce the price, there may not be any increase in the sales. So then at some point they can understand in which point when they are reducing the price, sales is increasing. Then they can identify the optimum price point to decide to increase the sales. So then the iterative process allows marketers to refine their hypothesis and strategies based on empirical evidence. Right? This ongoing testing and refinement leads to more accurate and effective marketing decisions. Right? So then now today we have discussed about the research methodology. So then we deeply we discuss about the justifying scientific method, right? Because the scientific method is justified because it provides a rigorous and systematic way to acquire knowledge, minimizing the bias and subjectivity. Thank you.